I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Ms. Clark's targeting may reflect a culture of disparate treatment, and the evidence provides reasonable cause for a federal probe into potential civil rights violations.
Stephen A. Smith just dropped a bombshell that should have every WNBA executive shaking in their boots. This wasn't your typical sports rant about bad officiating or questionable coaching decisions. No, Stephen A. went nuclear. He's now openly calling for federal investigators to look into the way Caitlin Clark has been treated since joining the league. And we're not talking about some fringe player here. We're talking about Caitlin Clark, the woman who almost single-handedly transformed the economics of the WNBA in a single season. The rookie who fueled 601% growth in merchandise sales, tripled multiple team valuations, and brought in 1.29 million All-Star votes from fans, only to be snubbed by her own peers. The player who drove record-breaking ratings and sponsorships, yet somehow has been allowed to take more punishment than anyone else in the league.
The golden child, in her second year in the league, who was top 4 in MVP voting last year, the assist leader last year, a galvanizing talent that has done wonders for the NBA. If she is seen to be physically getting abused on a basketball court in a way that is such a clear and flagrant discrepancy compared to what happens to others, that man is not going to say something.
Stephen A. Smith isn't alone in raising the alarm. Even the Wall Street Journal, not exactly known for covering sports controversies, published an op-ed arguing the federal government should investigate Clark's treatment as a potential civil rights issue. Let that sink in. We're no longer in the realm of sports debates. We're talking about workplace safety violations, hostile environments, and possibly discrimination. The economic earthquake Caitlin Clark created, let's be clear.
Seismic. Merchandise sales soared 601%. Indiana Fever viewership jumped 170%. The team's value tripled. League Pass subscriptions climbed 366%. App engagement rose 613%. And her endorsements topped $11 million. She's the economic engine driving the league forward.
Caitlin Clark didn't just join the WNBA, she became its economic engine. The numbers aren't just good, they're once-in-a-generation, rewrite-the-playbook type of good. Merchandise sales up 601%, the kind of surge that most leagues will never see in their entire history. Fever viewership tripled overnight. Overall WNBA viewership doubled, drawing in casual fans and new audiences. Team values tripled in the wake of her arrival. League Pass subscriptions surged 366%. Endorsements tied to her name surpassed $11 million, with brands lining up to be part of the Clark effect. The WNBA app saw engagement skyrocket 613%, an almost unheard-of jump in the modern digital age. This wasn't just a bump, this was a full-on economic revolution. The kind that should make a player untouchable in the eyes of league officials. Yet instead of protecting their golden goose, the WNBA allowed her to be physically targeted in ways that are impossible to ignore.
But 17 flagrant fouls have been called against people for beating up on Caitlin Clark. That's practically double what's happened for any other player in the league. They have evidence to say she's being treated unfairly.
The hard data is chilling. Last season, Caitlin Clark absorbed 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA, double the rate of any other player. That's not an accident, that's a pattern. Think about what that means. The player bringing in the most money, most media coverage, and most new fans is the same player taking the hardest, most dangerous hits. Even worse, referees were letting it happen. Over and over, footage shows Clark getting hit with contact that would draw instant whistles for veteran players, only for officials to swallow the whistle when it happens to her. Late hits, ignored, cheap shots, play on. obvious targeting, somehow deemed incidental. It doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to see what's going on. This is systematic neglect, if not outright targeting, and the WNBA has done nothing to stop it.
Let me tell you what kind of quotes Trump would lead on. Sophie Cunningham told the Wall Street Journal, she's Caitlin Clark's teammate, the Indiana Fever, the star player of the league is not being protected. Rebecca Lobo, analyst, ESPN. What does she say? Every single one of those plays against Caitlin Clark has been a foul.
Stephen A. isn't just talking about bad calls anymore. He's talking about federal law, specifically workplace protection laws. If a league fails to protect its employees from targeted abuse, they may be violating the same legal frameworks that underpin major civil rights cases. When someone with Stephen A.'s platform says the Justice Department should take a look, people listen. And if the feds do step in, the WNBA's world changes overnight. Because here's what happens in a federal investigation. Every referee communication gets reviewed. Every internal email gets subpoenaed. Every meeting where player safety was discussed gets dissected. If investigators find evidence of negligence or disparate treatment, the league could face lawsuits, congressional hearings, and massive public backlash. The All-Star voting scandal. If you want a perfect example of the jealousy and gatekeeping Clark faces, look no further than this year's All-Star voting. Fans, the people who buy tickets, stream games, and purchase merch, made it crystal clear who they wanted.
Dick Vitale. When the 1.29 million All-Star votes came in for Caitlin Clark, yet she was ranked 9th among guards on a player ballot. Quote, absolutely pure jealousy that the WNBA players voted Caitlin Clark the 9th best guard. Someday they will realize what she has done for all of the players in the WNBA. Chartered planes, increase in salaries, sold out crowds, improved TV ratings, etc. And they ain't lying. They ain't lying.
Clark pulled and won 29 million votes, a record-breaking wave of support that should have made her the undisputed face of the event. But when player voting results came in, she was ranked 9th among guards by her peers. 9th. Think about how absurd that is. The woman responsible for the league's biggest ever surge in popularity somehow doesn't crack the top tier according to other players. This wasn't just disrespect. This was a message. That message was loud and clear. We don't want you at the top, no matter what the fans say. It's the classic, protect the old guard, mentality, even if it hurts the league's long-term success.
And those players that are talking about their value, what's going to be held against you is looking at your value when Caitlin Clark is not playing. And when you see a precipitous drop-off, it ain't going to be about y'all, it's going to be about her. Even if it's wrong. Even if it's unfair, that's how it's going to go down. And when it goes down like that, that's exactly the kind of ammunition that the president will use to his advantage as he so sees fit.
Here's the uncomfortable truth the WNBA doesn't want to admit. Their entire financial future depends on keeping Caitlin Clark happy, healthy, and safe. The massive TV contracts, the merchandise deals, the sponsorships, they're not one and done. They're multi-year agreements built on the assumption that Clark will keep playing, keep winning, and keep drawing fans. Nike didn't invest millions expecting her to get roughed up every night. ESPN didn't expand coverage to watch officials ignore fouls. The Indiana Fever certainly didn't build their roster just to see their franchise player get bullied out of the league. That's why Fever management is already taking steps. Signing Sophie Cunningham wasn't just a basketball move. It was about protection. Players like Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, and Kelsey Mitchell have all shown they're ready to stand up for Clark. The fallout if the feds step in. If Stephen A.'s call for federal intervention becomes reality, the consequences for the WNBA could be catastrophic. Sponsors could walk away rather than be associated with workplace safety violations. TV networks could renegotiate contracts or cut coverage. Public trust could evaporate as the league is painted as a hostile workplace. And make no mistake, the corporations backing the WNBA care about one thing: avoiding bad PR. If systematic targeting and unsafe working conditions become part of the conversation, they'll cut ties faster than the league can respond. If you believe Caitlin Clark deserves protection and the WNBA needs to be held accountable, comment "Protect Caitlin Clark." Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update.